Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Data Structures and Algorithm in Python course. In today's lecture, we'll be seeing how we can implement stack using queue. So by default, let's say how actually a stack works. Let's say this is our stack. Okay. Let's say there are three elements, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. 1, 2 and 3. Now let's say I want to put this item one by one. Put this element one by one. So I'll take this one and then place it here. Okay. Done. Then 2, okay, then 2, then at last 3, right? 3. Now when in any time if I want to pop item, right, then what happens? Whatever added last, that will be come first, right? So when you pop it out, the order will be first 3 will be removed, right? Then 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 2 will be removed, then 1 will be removed, right? First 3, then 2, then 1. So if I post the item in this order 1 2 3, then the order of popping out the item will be 3 to 1, right? But in queue what happens? Let's say this is in queue. Okay, now let's put same items 1 2 and 3. Okay, so first I'll place 1. Okay, 1. Then I'll put 2, it will be 2. Then 3, right? Then 3. Now, when I pop this item one by one or DQ items, then what will happen? The order will be like first it will be 1, then it will be 2, then it will be 3. Like they are different. The order is different. Like how stack and how queue work, they're different. Now, the challenge is we have to implement stack. We have to implement a stack using queue. Using queue. How we can do that? Let's see. Let's see. Let's say I have this queue. Okay. So let's say this is our front and this is our rear. Okay, this is our rear or back. Okay, so let's take three 1 2 3 three integer. Okay, now let's say this is a queue. Okay, this is a queue, but I want this queue to be act like as how stack works, right? So let's say I put one first. Okay, one is now here. Okay, one is here. Now, if I call pop method right now, so what will happen? There only one items there, right? So if I pop it out, that means this item will be popped. Okay. In stack, what happens? Let's say I put only one. So one is the peak element. So if I remove the element, so one will be removed because it is in the top, right? So this is right. Now let's say I want to add the second element. What is second? This is 2. Okay, this is 2. So I added 2 here. Okay, now if I add 2 in the stack, so what happens? The peak element will be 2, right? So if I call pop method here, then what will remove? 2 will be removed. If I right now I call pop method, the output will be 2, right? But in queue, if I right now call pop method, so pop means pop left. So in queue there is no such pop method, so pop left, right? So but how to arrange item so that if I call pop left method, then whatever element appended at the last, that will come first. Means that will place in the front. What we have to do? First we'll be appending this 2 here. Then what we'll do? Whatever the front element, so what we'll do? Whatever the front element will pop this out from here. Pop this out from front. Okay. Then what will happen? So we'll be popping this one and store in any variable, right? So let's say a dummy variable. So temporary variable, right? Let's say we take a temporary variable. Then what is the next thing? Then we'll append this item again in the queue. Then what will happen? Then this one will be appended at the last. Now you can see, so we push 2 here. Now 2 is in the front. Previously 1 was in the front, right? But currently 2 is in the front. Now if you call pop left method, you can pop 2 from here, right? So that's how it can treat like a stack. So that's how a queue can be queue can be act like a stack. So let's rearrange them. Okay, let's do this. Let's remove this one. So 2 here, 1 here, right? Now 2 is appended. Now let's say now I want to append 3 here. So I'll be append 3 here. Okay. Now what I expect, whatever element I appended at the last, that should be come in front of the queue, right? Then we can say that this is a stack, right? So here if we put 3, so 3 will be at the top, right? Then when we call pop method, so 3 will be at the top. But here when we append 3, 3 is at the last, right? Now somehow we have to place 3 in the front. Then what we'll do, same thing. First we'll pop this 2 from here, right? Then we'll append at the last. Okay, now what will happen? So is 3 in the front? No, right? Then what will do? Again we'll pop this 1 and append at the last. Now you can see 3 is in the front, then 2, then 1, right? 3, 2, 1. So now let's say I pop all elements one by one, right? I pop all elements one by one. So first 1 was entered, right? Then 2, then 3, right? Now if I call pop left method, so first 3 should be removed, then 2, then 1, right? So here you can see if I call pop left method, first 3 will be removed, right? Then 2 will be removed, then 2 will be removed, and then 1 will be removed. Now can we say that this queue is treating like a stack? Yes, right? Yes, that's how we can implement stack using queue. Now let's say how we can do that. Now there are so for stack there are some operations like push operation, pop, top, and empty, right? So for push, what I expect for push operation, so let's say I want to add one item, right? One element. So let's say previously it was 1, 2, right? Then I want to add 3 here. And what I expect, when we append 3 here, this 3 should be in the front. This 3 should be in the front. That means, so let's write it. So in push, what are you gonna do? First we'll append the item. So the step will be first just append q dot append this item, right? Append the element. Then in the next step, we'll pop the elements one by one from the front. How we know how many items we have to remove? Let's say the length of the queue is, so when we when we append the element, so what will be the length? Length will be 3, right? Then whatever the length, we have to remove the items that is equals to length minus 1. That means we have to remove 2 elements from the front, right? So that we got. So what we have to do, so we have to run a for loop, right? For will be running from 0 to, let's say, n minus 1 or n minus 2. Okay, the length minus 1 up to that. Then what we'll do, will be pop this item one by one. So we'll be pop the item one by one, q dot pop left, right? Pop left. Okay, then this item will append at the last. So first we'll be pop the item one by one, then append at the last. So q dot append this item. Whatever we have popped out, we'll be pushing here, right? And how many times we have to perform? We have to perform n minus 1 time, right? N minus 1 times, because we don't want to pop this item again, right? So if we pop twice, that means 3 will come here, then 1, then 2. That means whatever we have pushed 3, then 3 is in the front, right? So this is the push operation, right? Then what is next? Next is pop operation. So now tell me, the element, when you push any element, append any element, that is come in the front, right? This is placed in the front. Now if we call pop left method, can we get the expected result? Yes, right? Yes. So for pop, what are you gonna do? We're gonna add, we're gonna write pop left method here. Okay. If when we pop this item, so the whatever element we have appended, that will be popped. Then what is the next thing? Top. So how we can get top? So top will be simple because the element whatever we post, that is placed in the front, right? So to get the top element, now what we have to do, we have to access the first element, right? So q of 0. Then we have to check is the queue is empty or not. Then what are you going to do? So to check empty or not, what we have to do, we have to simply check the length of this queue, right? Length of this queue. If that is equals to 0, that means equals to 0, that means it is empty, right? That means it is empty, otherwise it is not. So let's write the code for this. First, this is a class, right? This is my stack class that we have to create using queue, right? So first we have to define a queue. We have to take attribute. So let's self dot define name as queue equals to, so we have to call the deck from the collection, right? Okay, we have created the queue. Okay, then the push method. In push method, what we have to do, first will be append the element. So for push, we'll call first append the element dot append whatever. So in push we have to pass the element, right? So here we have added x. Then what are you gonna do? We'll be running a for loop, right? For I in range, and range will be from 0 to length of this self dot q minus 1 minus 1, right? Yeah. And then what are we gonna do? We're gonna pop the element and append at the last. So self dot q dot append self dot q dot pop left, right? In q we have pop left method. Okay, that is done. So this is push method. Now, does push method return anything? No, right? Then we don't have to return anything. Now, pop method. So to pop, what do you have to do? We have to call just simply pop left method, right? So you have to call self dot q dot pop left. Now, does pop method returns anything? Yes, right? So that's why whatever element we have popped out will be return this. Okay, will be returning this. Now, top element. How we can get the top? Top will be the front element, right? So here will be also be returning self dot q dot, sorry, q of 0. Okay, okay. Then empty method. How to check this is empty or not? So you have to simply return if length of this self dot q, if it is equals to, sorry, equals to 0, that means it is empty, otherwise not. So first we define a queue first. Okay, then for push method will be append the item, then will be first pop the element one by one and append at the last. And what will be the range? Range will be length minus 1, right? Then for pop, we'll just simply pop from the front, and for top item, we'll be accessing the front item, and for empty, we'll be checking if the length is equals to 0 or not. Let's run this. Let's see. Okay, I make a mistake. Okay, self. Okay, it is accepted. Let's try to submit this. Okay, it is accepted. So I hope you have understood how we can implement stack using queue, right?